The teacher waited for Margaya's arrival in the evening after finishing the lessons with Balu. Balu went in to demand his dinner. It was past 8 when Margaya came home.
As the pit-paw of his sandals was heard outside, the teacher felt acutely uneasy and stood up. Margaya carefully put away his sandals at the corridor and came in. He saw the teacher and asked, "What is the matter, teaching so late?"
The teacher went forward officiously, rubbed his hands and said, "Oh, I finished the lessons long ago, and Balu has even gone to sleep. I only waited to see you, sir," he added. "Oh, now? Impossible," said Margaya.
He proceeded to put away his upper cloth and take off his shirt. "I come home after a hard day's work and now you try to catch me for some idiotic school business, I suppose. Do you think I have no other business?"
Go. Nothing doing now." "All right, sir," the teacher said, turning to go, greatly relieved. "Is there anything else?"
Margaya shouted as the other was going. The teacher thought for a moment and said, "Nothing special, sir," in a most humble tone, which satisfied Margaya. His self-importance was properly fed, and so he said, as a sort of favor to the teacher, "I hope Balu is all right?"
"Oh, yes, sir. He is quite up to the mark, although he needs constant watching." "Well, as a teacher that is what you are expected to do, remember. And any time you see him getting out of hand, don't wait for me.
Thrash him. Thrash him well." As a sort of general philosophy, he added, "No boy who has not been thrashed has come to any good."
"I am going to be extremely busy hereafter and won't have much time for anything. Don't take your eye off the boy." "Yes, sir. I will always do my best. As a teacher, my interest is to see him rise in the world as a man of."
Margaya turned and went away to the backyard without waiting for him to finish the sentence. His wife picked up a vessel of water and gave it to him. As he poured it over himself and she could be sure he was feeling cooler, she said, "Why do you constantly say, thrash, thrash, whenever you speak of the child?"
"It is not good." Margaya replied, "Oh, you believe it. It is just a formality with teachers, that is all.
It keeps them in trim. After all, the fellow takes 10 rupees a month and he must keep himself alert, but he dare not even touch our little darling. I would strike off that miserable teacher's head."
It was all very bewildering to his wife. She asked, "If you don't want him to do it, why do you tell him to thrash him? That is the way things have to be done in the world, my dear.
If you see a policeman, ask him to catch the thief. If you see a monkey, ask him to go up a tree. And if you see a teacher, ask him to thrash his pupil. These are the things they do. And it pleases them, they are appropriate. If you want to please me, tell me to put up the interest, and I at once feel I am being spoken to by a friend and well-wisher."
There was probably no other person in the whole country who had meditated so much on the question of interest. Margaya's mind was full of it. Night and day he sat and brooded over it.
The more he thought of it, the more it seemed to him the greatest wonder of creation. It combined in it the mystery of birth and multiplication.
Otherwise, how could you account for the fact that 100 rupees in a savings bank became 120 in course of time? It was something like the ripening of corn. Every rupee, Margaya felt, contained in it seed of another rupee, and that seed in it another seed, and so on and on to infinity.
It was something like the firmament, endless stars, and within each star an endless firmament, and within each one further endless. It bordered on mystic perception. It gave him the feeling of being part of an infinite existence. But Margaya was racked with the feeling that these sublime thoughts were coming to him in a totally wrong setting.
He disliked the atmosphere of the Gordon printery. He detested his office and the furniture. Sitting in a chair, dangling one's legs under a table, seemed an extremely irksome process. It was as if you remained half suspended in midair.
He liked to keep his knees folded and tucked. That alone gave him a feeling of being on solid ground. And then his table and all its equipment seemed to him a most senseless luxury. They were not necessary for the welfare and progress of a businessman, they were mere show stuff.
And all that calling bell nonsense. The best way to call was to shout, "Boy," and keep shouting till the boy's eardrum split and he came running. All this tinkling calling bell stuff was a waste of time.
You were not a shepherd playing on a flute calling back your flock. Margaya was so much tickled by this comparison that he laughed aloud one day while he sat in his office, and was supposed to be counting the orders for domestic harmony. The boy came running in at the sound of this laughter, and Margaya flung the call bell at him and said, "Don't let me see this on my table."
I don't want all this tomfoolery. This was the starting point. The business always seemed to him an alien one.
The only interesting thing about it seemed to be the money that was coming in. But money is not everything, he told himself one day. It was a very strange statement to come from a person like Margaya.
But if he had been asked to explain or expand it further, he would have said, money is very good no doubt, but the whole thing seems to be in a wrong setting. Money was not in its right place here, amidst all the roar of printing machinery, ugly streaming proof sheets, and the childish debits and credits that arose from book sales with booksellers and book buyers, who carried on endless correspondence over trivialities about 6 1/4 and 12.5% and a few annas of postage and so forth.
It was all very well if you spoke of those percentages with a value of 100 rupees at least, but here you were dealing with 2 rupees per copy and involved yourself in all these hair-splitting percentages. It did not seem to Margaya an adult business. There was really no stuff in it, there was not sufficient adventure in it, there was nothing in it. Book business is no business at all, he told his wife one evening when he decided to part company with Lai.
It is a business fit for youngsters of Balu's age. The lady had no comment to offer since all business seemed to her equally complex and bewildering. She had to listen with patience as he expanded his theme. It is a rusty business, sitting there all the time and looking at those silly figures. Well, to let you into a secret, there is not much of that either. The figures are falling off, sales are not as good as they used to be.
And then it hurt his dignity to be called the publisher of domestic harmony. He would prefer people to forget it if possible. When the profits dwindled, he began to view the book in a peculiarly realistic light.
Awful stuff, he told his wife. Most vulgar and poisonous. It will do a lot of damage to young minds.
And also to old minds, I think. How can people write brazenly of all those matters? She asked.
Margaya said, did you ever notice how I have managed not to bring a single copy into this house? I don't want our Balu even to know that there is such a book. His wife expressed deep appreciation of this precaution.
Margaya felt further impelled to add, I don't want people to say that Balu enjoys all the money earned through domestic harmony. I would do anything to avoid it. He felt very heroic when he said that.
He seemed to swell with his goodness, nobility and importance, and the clean plans he was able to make for his son. It was quite a fortnight before he spoke of it to Lai. Lai was thinking that Margaya was attending to his work as usual.
Their quarterly statement system worked quite smoothly. There was no chance of any mistake or misunderstanding. Lai himself was a man who believed that in the long run honesty paid in any business.
Margaya had complete charge of the sales, and the division of the spoils went on smoothly without a hitch. At tiffin time, Margaya called up his boy and told him, go and ask Lai if he will come here for tiffin today. Tell him that there is something I have brought from home.
Lai came up. Margaya ceremoniously welcomed him and pointed to the chair opposite. My wife has sent something special today for my afternoon tiffin, and I thought you might like to taste it.
I have to go home for lunch, said Lai. I have told them that I would be there. I will send word to them.
Boy! Margaya cried. He took complete charge of the other.
Call the master servant, and send him up to inform the lady at the house that Sub is not coming there for his meal. And then run up and bring. He gave an elaborate list of tiffins to be purchased at the canteen next door.
Ask him to make the best coffee. I don't want coffee, mister. Let it be tea.
I have taken coffee only for your sake once or twice. I don't want coffee. All right, make it tea then, and coffee for me.
Hurry up. Why are you still standing and blinking? Hurry up, young fellow.
There, consuming their repast, Margaya made his proposal. Lai, you have done a lot for me. I want to do a good turn to you.
At the mention of this, Lai sat up interested. Good turn, he thought. That sounded suspicious.
No one like Margaya would do a good turn except as a sort of investment. Lai wanted to know what the proposal was going to mean. He knew that it must be something connected with domestic harmony. but he felt he should have all his faculties alert.
He said very casually, "Well, mister, we must all be helpful to each other, isn't that so? Otherwise, what is life worth? What is existence worth?"
If we are always thinking of our profits, we shall not be able to do any good in this world. I am glad you think so much of my little service to you. But pray don't think too much of it.
I have done the little I could, although financially it has really meant a loss. If I should put into my books all the time and energy, to say nothing of the materials that have been put into our job, it would really turn out to be a loss. If I had engaged myself in something else? But my mind will not run on these lines. I always like to think at the end of the day that I have done something without thought of profit, and only then do I feel able to go to sleep.
Margaya felt it was time for him to interrupt this peroration. The same with me. I like to go a step further.
Not only lack of profit, I like to feel that I have done something with a little sacrifice for another person's sake. It is not often one gets a chance to do such a thing, but when one does, one is able to sleep with the utmost peace that night. With their mouths stuffed with sweets and other edibles, they spoke for about 10 minutes more on sacrifices and the good life.
When they came to the coffee, there was a lull and Margaya said casually, "Here is the proposal about domestic harmony. I don't like you to bear the burden anymore since you say that you have had a loss. Why don't you let me take it over completely?"
Why? How can that be? There is our partnership deed. My lawyer.
Oh, let your lawyer alone. We don't need lawyers. Why do you bring in a lawyer when we are discussing something as friends?
Is this all the regard you have for our friendship? I am very much hurt, Lai. I wish you had not mentioned a lawyer.
He sat looking very sad and broken-hearted at this turn of events. Lai remained quiet for a few moments. He took a cup of tea and gulped it down.
He said, "Why should you feel so much upset at the thought of lawyers? They are not demons. Somehow I don't like to do anything without telling my lawyer about it."
As for me, said Margaya, you need not imagine that I have no use for lawyers. I consult not one but 2 or 3 at a time in business matters. I never take a step unless I have had a long and complete consultation with my lawyer. But now there is nothing to warrant the calling of a lawyer or the police, he added laughing.
The other could not view the matter with the same ease and still looked very serious. Margaya said, "I am not calling you here to give you trouble, Lai. I am only informally trying to talk over a matter with you, that is all, but if you are going to be so suspicious, I had better not speak of it."
You see, I am not a person who cares much for advantages. What seems to me the most important thing in human life is good relationships among all human beings. This maudlin statement had the desired effect and Lai softened a little, and asked, "What is it that you are trying to say?" "Merely that you should let me buy up the partnership for domestic harmony."
"It is impossible," he cried. "I can prove that I have observed all the clauses faithfully. How can we cancel it, mister?"
"What is it that you are suggesting?" "It is only a suggestion," Margaya said. "Just to save you the bother, that's all. There's nothing more in it, especially since I thought you could employ your time and energies more profitably."
"Impossible," Lai cried. "I will not listen to it."
"Oh," Margaya said, and remained thoughtful. Then he added, "Well then, I will make a sporting offer." He tapped his chest dramatically. "Just to prove that all is well here, I make this sporting offer to you.
Take it if you can. You will then know that I am not trying to gain a mean advantage over you." "What are you saying, mister?"
It is this. I will speak if you promise you will not call your lawyer or the police after me." "Oh, you are a very sensitive man," Lai said. "I meant no offense."
"You might not, but it is very depressing. You are a businessman and I am a businessman. Let us talk like 2 businessmen. Either we agree or we don't agree. Either give the domestic harmony solely."
"Impossible," cried Lai once again. "There is our partnership deed." "What is the deed worth?"
"Tear it up, I say, and take over the book yourself. I do not want any interest in it. I am prepared to give it to you this very moment, although in a couple of months the marriage season will be on and the demand for the book will go up."
"I am prepared to surrender it. Are you prepared to accept it?" "No," said Lai promptly.
"I do not like to take advantage of anyone's generosity. It needed, however, 2 more days of such talk, rambling, challenging, and bordering on the philosophical, before they could evolve an equitable give-and-take scheme, a scheme which each secretly thought gave him a 75% advantage. By it, Margaya abandoned forever his interest in domestic harmony for a lump sum payment, and he tore up his document dramatically and put it into the waste paper basket under Lai's table, at which Lai seemed to be much moved.
He extended his hand and said, "Among businessmen, once a friend, always a friend. Our friendship must always grow. If you have any printing of forms or anything, remember us, we are always at your service."
This is your press. He saw Margaya off at the door, and Margaya walked down the market road with a satisfactory cheque in his pocket.